Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax, and let's chat about the astrology for not only today, Friday, but also for the weekend. And we have quite a bit to talk about today because, of course, it's 3 days worth of astrology, but also today there are some important changes occurring. And we also want to finish our conversation that we began yesterday looking at the shadow and the fear in the gate 48, where the sun is sitting this week. And today we're going to take a look at the gift level of that particular energy. And it is the energy of resourcefulness. So we have a couple of things to get to today. And let's just dive in right now. The moon is in Sagittarius just for about another hour and a half or so, and then it will move over into the sign of Capricorn. Now, you got to remember then that that puts us in a void of course moon. So if you're having trouble getting your engines running this morning, or if you just are feeling a little bit lazy or slow, or like you can't seem to get anything going, it's because the moon is in the void. That will change in the next couple of hours. It is at 10:44 my time, Pacific time, and 1:44 p.m. for you all on the East Coast. So if you're trying to put an end to your work week and you're on the East Coast, after lunch, things might get better, right? Or later in the afternoon. For us here on the West Coast, it'll be just another couple of hours and things will be back on the move. And we'll have the moon in Capricorn today in a sextile to both Venus and Mercury, squaring Mars. Keep in mind, that's an important piece right here. And also in a trine to Uranus. So let's say a quick good morning to people out there. Let's say hi to Debbie Hedden and Rebecca and Amy. Mimi, nice to see you. And Ann Stevens, nice to see you. Amy Moore, good morning. Colleen and Suzanne, everybody saying good morning. Thank you, Amy. Actually, I had my hair down at one point this morning. I mean, it's down now, but there's this thing I have about pulling my hair back from my face. If it's in my face, I can't think. Or, it drives me crazy. So I tried because it looked really pretty when I had it that way, but I cannot do it. I can't think. I can't move right. It slows my roll. So I pulled it back. But thank you so much. Debbie Tibbetts, good morning to you. Kathy Miller, good morning to you. I hope everybody is having a good day, ready for the weekend. I'm excited. My Seahawks won last night. They eked out a win against a tough team by 1 point. Oh my God, it was a nail biter. I don't know how many times I had to walk out of the room just to get my cool on, because it was really a very difficult thing to watch last night. But in the end, they pulled out a win. Hallelujah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what the moon means when it moves over into Capricorn, because I won't be here tomorrow or even later in the day to be able to tell you more about that. So I'm going to pull out my handy little thing so I don't forget details about Capricorn. So remember, Capricorn's territory is ruled by Saturn. So now we have the moon and Saturn in kind of working together. So the moon, of course, emotional. Saturn, not so much, right? Saturn is all business and all discipline. But here in this particular sign, excuse me, we can be very resourceful. Isn't that interesting to pull that word in with the moon, because it's going to be a word that we're going to be talking about and what it means for you in terms of overcoming the fear in the spleen at gate 48. So we have resourcefulness, we have enduring energy, and we have this level of ability to commit to things, to stay the course for our goals, to persevere in the face of obstacles. Remember, Saturn also rules the 10th house in the natural astrology chart. So it has an affinity to us claiming our authority and how we're going to show up in the world. So the moon moving through Capricorn signals either the right time to bring out your authority or to express your power, or it is the emotional ability to be able to do that. We may feel a little more serious while the moon is moving through Capricorn, more focused perhaps on getting things done. Watch out though for being too serious, because remember, we're not meant to be serious. We're meant to be responsible, but not serious. It's a shadow energy, and remember, we just learned that at the equinox, when the sun was in the gate 46, whose shadow is seriousness, whose gift was delight, right, and ecstasy being its highest expression. So we're really meant to fall along the lines of delight, not seriousness. But right now with the moon in Capricorn, we can be too serious, too rigid, too caught up in boundaries, not able to think outside of the box. So we want to watch being able to do that. When we get into Monday, the moon shifts out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. Actually, Sunday evening, it will make that next shift. So we'll again be able to see that bigger picture and shift into the more eccentric, unique ways of thinking. But for the weekend, we're a little more serious, a little more focused energy. Emotionally, we may feel a little bit let down, a little bit depressed. It's a feeling. It isn't a state of being. It's a feeling, not a state of being, right? So the feeling may be that of being low or depressed or sad, or maybe even feeling lethargic or slow, like you just don't want to get up and go. That's typical as well. That too shall pass, right? And you will end up back into the sunnier weather. Now, the moon in Capricorn is good for getting things done, right? It's an earth sign, it's practical, it's pragmatic, and it can see what the easiest route is to get something done. And it will also help in getting things out of the way that may be stopping you from seeing how to move forward powerfully. So it's a good energy overall, but just know that emotionally we may feel a little bit out of sorts for a couple of days during the weekend. At times, it's not like a consistent energy either. The moon is emotional, and emotions flow in waves that are high and come down to a low. So that high and low energy of emotions will be in game all weekend long. It always is, right? It's nothing new. It's just different when it's in Capricorn versus, say, Sagittarius, where it was more optimistic and more, wider thinking. This energy wants us to bring it in, focus, bring it into if I say this, you guys might get the wrong idea, but bring it into that box, right? Look and see what's right there in front of you and work with that. Acceptance is another word we could use here. Accepting where things are, but knowing that too will pass, right? That too shall change and move forward. All right, so let's look at the planets that the moon will be playing with today. Today it is Venus and Mercury in a sextile to the moon. Venus before the moon transitions into Capricorn, and Mercury more after it transitions into the sign of Capricorn. So both of them, though, the inner planets being able to share of their energies in a very powerful way. I'm more concerned later with the square to Mars, and that's because the moon in Capricorn at that point in time is in a difficult position. Mars in a square to that can overblow emotions. So we may come into conflict with others, or an internal conflict is as well something that we may be dealing with as we get into later in the day. And then a trine to Uranus as we end our day. So the moon trining Uranus in Capricorn, that means Capricorn to Taurus. All I can say is stay close to your values, right? Stay close to what's important to you, and let the outer world unfold the way it's going to unfold. There's nothing really that you can change, but there may be some interesting energies as we end our day today. As we look at the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day, though, it is a pretty interesting energy. It is the 12 universal energy of understanding. Understanding. Can we understand one another? Can we understand ourselves? Can we understand the information that is coming through to us from galactic sources? Can we understand the information that's coming to us on our own Earth, from our own Earth energies? And the earth energy itself is self-regulating. Self-regulating energy is Etznab in the Mayan calendar, which was the obsidian knife that cuts, right? Cuts almost with surgical precision to the core of something or to the truth of something. It is where we can demonstrate competency in whatever it is that we are here to do by just cutting out what doesn't serve and letting it go. And in that, this day brings us the opportunity or maybe the need to make some hard choices about where we are, about where we're going, about who we want to be, about what stays, about what goes. And of course, now with the moon also going to be in Capricorn, there could be some emotional baggage hanging on with that. So while I think it's a good day for us being able to see more clearly, it could be not so good if you're holding on, right? If you're holding on, you know, tooth and nail to something, and a broken ideal, a broken belief. If you're holding on to anything, even if it's an object, a relationship, a job, you name it, if you're holding on to it, likely this is where you have the opportunity to let it go or to cut it out of your life with surgical precision, if you will, to be able to move forward without that weight around your neck. Let's see. Linda, good morning. Petra, great to see you out there. Marjorie Roth, good morning to you. Christine Erickson, Catherine Worcester, Asa, good to see you. Lynn, great to see you too. Not sure she can stay, but she wanted to pop in and say hello, and I'm so glad you did. It's great to see you. Chanel, great to see you. Allison, good morning and happy Friday. Or she says Friday. I love Friday. I also love finally Friday. I can't take credit for any of those. I don't know who creates those things, but they're wonderful. So today, then, the biggest news of the day is that Mars is taking a leap out of the sign of Virgo, where he's been for, about 6 weeks now, and moves into the sign of Libra. Now I'm going to throw out a new word to some of you, and that is Mars in Libra is in his detriment. Detriment is it's a label in astrology that just says the planet is in the worst sign for him or her, in that Mars is the ruler of Aries, the sign exactly opposite of Libra. So he is in his weakness when he's moving through the sign of Libra. So that is the same with any other planet. If Mercury is moving through a sign opposite of where he's empowered, it's called detriment, right? So we have a list of planets in their detriment, and the opposite is in their exaltation and also their sign of rulership. So we have a couple of terms. It just all boils down to Mars does not like Libra. He's not comfortable there. Remember, Mars is a planet of action and decision and, forward momentum. Taking dynamic action is much better for Mars than waffling energy or indecisive energy, such as what you find in Libra. And it's not it's not a bad thing that Libra is that way. It is that Libra is the sign of the scales, and they're weighing the options, right? What's going to be the fairest expression? What's the most fair? What's the most judicious? What makes the most sense? And they can see the all sides of something. So for them, it slows down the decision making. Slowing down the decision making for Mars does not make him very happy at all. So you have fire and air, and that can create this fanning effect of passive aggression energy, perhaps. Mars is going to take action no matter what. And it may cause you to take action or say or do things that are more passive aggressive than normal for you. And that would be the shadow energy, right? If you're in reactive space, it could be coming out as passive aggression, a smile on your face while you're stabbing in the back. Now, the way for us to work through some of this Mars in Libra energy is to just hold space until you have clarity around what direction to move in. Mars is going to be moving through all of the fear gates from now on. Actually, he moves into fear gates beginning on the 10th. So in just a couple of days, next week, Thursday. And so he'll be, begin the process of causing you to maybe take action based in fear. So we'll want to be, that's why we're going through this time right now where I'm explaining these fears, these shadow energies, so that you don't end up in a position of acting out passive aggressively, in this case for this week, for right now. Actually, he is in Libra until November 19th. So for a while here, we have this issue. Now, when Mars moves into Scorpio, that's going to be much more comfortable territory for him, and that should be interesting. Watch for signs of diplomacy, attempts at diplomacy, attempts at being tactful, and how they epically fail. That will be something interesting while Mercury is sitting there in Scorpio, digging up things, and all sides reacting to those things, and even attempting to try to take that moral high ground, or to, maintain calm and see both sides of everything, may not be so easy for anybody during these next few weeks. That can tend to ratchet up the conversation, the energy, the conflict, the confrontation. So we'll want to watch out for that. And, that may be out in the outer world, but it may also be because Mars is an inner planet, and that we are experiencing that also in our personal world. We're going to have to be much more aware of how we talk with one another, how we are presenting ourselves out there in the world during these next several weeks. So that's the biggest news. I think there can be movement on creating a more diplomatic conversation out there. It's going to take effort on our part, probably more effort than ever before, because of the nature of what is happening out there in the world. Taking a look at Saturday. Saturday, the moon is still in Capricorn. In fact, the whole day we'll spend in Capricorn. The moon will be squaring the sun. We come to our first crisis point since the new moon. The crisis point is called the crisis of action. So whatever intentions you may have set, or whatever it was that you are wanting to manifest in your life that you set out with the new moon a week ago, might be tested now. There may be something in the way, a block. Something comes up that's in the physical realm that seems to, or appears to, want to stop you from moving forward. And how you handle that block is exactly what this square is all about. Do you give up? Do you throw up your hands in defeat and walk away? Or do you say, I wonder what this is showing me and what comes next? Always asking the question, what comes next? What's the way around this block? Staying open rather than closing down and giving up on your intentions or your goals. So the crisis of action is, what do I do now? And holding out space for spirit to show you that, or for your intuition to show you that, or your emotional energy to show you what comes next. What comes next is where your power lies during that kind of a square. The moon will also be conjunct Saturn tomorrow. When the moon conjuncts Saturn, there's often that letdown feeling, or that lower energy. You may be more tired, more lethargic. It's okay. It's not going to last. It's going to move on. And maybe what you do is take some time for relaxation, right? Put on a really good movie, get that really good book, get cozy in a blankie if it's a cool day, and just relax and let the world go by, right? Let the world go by. Don't get yourself all up in a twist over the energies of Saturn. Remember, Saturn is in a process right now of regeneration. In a sign that he rules, he's no longer retrograde. He's now moving full force forward, and he is in that process of rebuilding, refashioning, and it takes time for that. It also takes a lot of energy for that. And that energy can take its toll on you if you've been pushing yourself too hard. So make sure you build in time for rest. Later in the day on Saturday, the moon will also come into a sextile with Neptune. So put on a great fantasy movie, allow yourself to dream, to escape a little from that reality that might feel too heavy for you. And in that, then free yourself up a little bit from some of that more negative feeling. And others of you may not be feeling that at all. You may feel energized by the energy of the moon conjunct Saturn because it opens up a pathway to getting things done. Kind of gives us a relief a little bit from that Mars now in Libra, where we want to take action, but we can't, or it looks like we can't, or causing us to slow things down. So follow whatever your energy is giving you over the day on Saturday. Mercury will move into another gate in your human design on Saturday. It moves into the gate 28, which is about purposelessness in the shadow. And at least initially, when a planet moves into a new gate, we seem to pick up the shadow energy, and it gets a little bit over-focused. We can see that there's higher potential, but we haven't gotten there yet. So perhaps the moon in a conjunction to Saturn has us asking the question, what is this all for, right? What are we doing? What is this all about, right? That can make you feel like you're purposeless in being here on this planet, or in, struggling or continuing to struggle to get where you want to go or to do what you want to do. Don't take it seriously, right? This is about understanding, is this something real for you? Or is this something that you really love or want or are connected to? And if you are, then it's all about totality. It's about being totally immersed in whatever it is that you are doing in the moment. That's the gift here, is totality, where the shadow energy is purposelessness. And purposelessness can often begin out of a fear, right? The fear, because it's on the spleen. Mercury is hitting those gates of the spleen that are about fear. Saturday also puts us in the Pleiadian energy of the ending of the week. It's a 13-day. Universally, we are in the energy of completion. We're in the energy of endings. We are preparing for ascending to the next level in the spiral of consciousness. And we're sitting there with the energy of catalyzing tomorrow. Kawayak in the Mayan calendar, which represented the thunderstorm or the rainstorm that clears the air and prepares us for the next step. It challenges our ability to see those challenges, those blocks, or those limitations as creative opportunities, right? Interesting that the sun and the moon are in a square also that day, where we may feel blocked. We may feel like, oh God, I didn't see that one coming. Now what do I do? And it is using those kind of things that show up in our lives that may block us or stop us or create fear as creative opportunities to move forward. Avoid drama, avoid disappointment. Don't get into those energies. See the energy of this maybe block as a way to move forward, as a creative opportunity to see a way around it, something that you might have missed, right? Or to even just go within and say to, pull out a resource from within you. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here today too, about what to pull out from within that can get you moving on your path again. Okay, so let's take a look at comments and questions that are perhaps going on here. Debbie says she's exhausted, PJs and movies. Well, you've been traveling around quite a bit, Debbie. I can totally understand why you might be tired. PJs and movies, awesome thing for you. Mimi says the whole past week has been so slow energy. I trust that I am resting now as a busy month ahead. Definitely. I think it's when we question why things are the way they are that we can get in, that we become endangered, right? Into succumbing to some of these energies. If we just take it as it goes, right? We're just engaged in the flow, then it works out better for us. So anyway, so Saturday's energy is all about closing up, completing, completion, and getting prepared, catalyzed to move into the new energy on Sunday, which will be one enlightening. It's the alpha and the omega here, because the one is the universal energy of new beginnings, of starting something fresh. And enlightening energy, the earth energy that day is Ahau in Mayan, which is the last of the signs. So we have Alpha, the beginning, Omega, the ending, and it's that consistent, that it reminds me of that infinity symbol that has no beginning and no end. It just keeps on going. So we have opportunities for not only a new beginning, but the energies of enlightening give us opportunities for social progress, to see how things could move forward, for idealism, right? Holding ourselves to a value that is up here, not down here, right? Idealism. It is on the backs of idealists that the greatest opportunities come for us, right? If we stay in the energy of pessimism or realism, sometimes then we lose out the opportunities that our imagination can bring to us. So we're looking ahead. We're looking for idealism, and who or what that is representing in our outer world would be the question to ask yourself. Venus on Sunday also moves out of the gate of what gate she's been sitting in. She's been sitting in she moves into gate 50 out of the gate 32. And the gate 50 is a gate of values. This is where I think Venus really shines. She brings us back to our common values, our common decency, the way that we are meant to treat one another, the way the world is meant to work, not the shadowy energies that we're seeing everywhere, because that's the field we're in right now. The field that is in front of us is all about fear. And what are we doing with that fear? And how is it showing up? And what are we doing to overcome that fear? How are we working with that fear? Are we embracing it, loving it into us, and releasing our attachment to how that shows up and moving forward? Or are we consistently resisting even looking at what is it that we're really afraid of? And creating then a situation where it keeps coming back to haunt us, right? What you resist persists. And if we persist in not looking at the fear or analyzing what it is that its meaning is for us, then we are doomed to keep repeating the same things over and over again. That same fear will keep coming up. Wash, rinse, repeat, right? I'm done with that. I want to look at that. I want to move through it. I want to embrace all it means for me. I had an interesting experience the other day when I was having a healing treatment with Londa. And, you know, she does a lot of energy healing while she's also doing massage. So I went purposely because I was having such issues with my arm and my neck and headaches and all of that after almost falling 3 times. Anyway. And she came to this spot in my energy field, and it was sort of right out here, right by, you know, would be my left shoulder, left neck. And it was related to heart energy. And she said, here's where you're afraid to look. Like there's something here that, and it made me think about all of us in humanity, that where there's this part that's still blocking our heart that we're afraid to look at. And I said, you know, I don't want to be afraid to look at it. I don't know what it is. And I don't know that I need to know what it is so much as I don't want to be afraid. I don't want that fear blocking, especially blocking my heart. So it made me think about the energies of the next few weeks where we have, you know, these planets, the inner planets, the sun, sitting at gates of fear, and the opportunity that is there for us to really dig this up and expose it to the light and not have it remain hidden from us anymore, but being able to see it in its fullness and then honoring it for what it's protected us from. I don't know what it's protecting me from. Who knows? It's probably not something that I need to be protected from anymore. But I won't know that unless I actually embrace that, bring it in and honor it, and then move forward, right? That's the idea, is to embrace all of that and understand that it's a part of your experience. It may be a part of past lives. It may be a part of your ancient lineage, right? Your family lineage, some things that you really have no power over, at least not consciously, that are still holding us back. And we have this brilliant opportunity now to embrace that and to move forward anyway, right? Through the field of fear, and come out on the other end, out of the shadows and into the gift status, right? Into the gift or the light of the the genes, right? Your genes, your traits that you have to express in your DNA. So interesting Sunday as well. Moon, it's still in Capricorn until it moves into the void at 4:26 p.m. my time, 7:26 for you all on the East Coast, where it will spend 4 hours in the void before it launches itself out of the sign of Capricorn and into Aquarius. That means then, of course, while the moon is in Capricorn, it will also conjunct Pluto, another planet, and get invested in regeneration and rebuilding in the sign of Capricorn. So we may be able to see movement on that. We may be able to see the emotional entanglements that have us caught up in fear and be able to work through that and release that. There's also a square of the moon to Venus. So it may make for some conflict in relationships, or we may see that kind of conflict in our world around us somehow. Mercury that day also in an opposition to Uranus and Taurus. You know, luckily Sunday is probably not a day where people are at work. It's likely a day where you're more at home. People may be catching up on the news or catching up on things that they didn't get to during the week. So I'm hoping that the impact of the mind and our communication in an opposition to the rebel planet Uranus doesn't take us into negative territory. But it's a possibility that there may be some surprising ideas, good ideas maybe some surprising, conversations that come up. I don't know what that might mean, but be prepared for perhaps some surprises. Mercury does rule the mind, right? And our communication. So maybe there's some surprising ideas or ahas or revelations that come up for you. Maybe I'll get to what it is that fear is that's blocking the complete expression of my heart. I don't know, but I'm open. So that is the quick rundown of the weekend. Not a bad weekend, really, but I'm always a little bit leery of the moon in Capricorn on a weekend because we're at home. We are in, where our families are, and are we in low enough energy, stressed enough, anxious enough from what we've experienced all week long that we, blow up at family members, etc. So we want to stay in our hearts and stay calm and, cool. And if you're feeling low energy, or like Debbie, where you just want to be in your PJs watching a good movie, then do it, right? Value yourself and what your body is telling you that you need to do enough to do it. Listen, right? Okay. Lynn, as a Scorpio, I feel more inspired to action today. That might have to do with the sunshine coming out after a few days of rain. Likely. Good. Rebecca says, I always feel the next territory or sign for the moon during the void phase. Is that normal? I would say yes, it is. I can almost always tap into the void. I mean, granted, I know that it's a void because I've looked at it, but there are days even when I haven't really looked at the voids. Like yesterday, I didn't even realize we were going into a void, for today, because I just didn't look at that. I was looking at something else. And I can still sort of feel that change, right? That change in the field. And so I think, there is a moment during that void that we can tap into what's next, what's coming. And it may be, how the moon is set up in your own personal chart, right? And the connections it makes to the transiting moon. So I don't doubt that can happen, right? That we're tapping in ahead of time. All right. No questions. Okay. If you have any, go ahead and put them out there and I will deal with them. What are we looking at time-wise? 8:33. Awesome. Okay, so I'm hoping that I might have time for a couple of readings at the end, but I want to go back and pick up our conversation that we were having yesterday on the sun in gate 48, dealing yesterday with the fear of inadequacy. So let's just do a quick review of what inadequacy takes us to. It comes about, remember, during that emotional phase of our emotional evolutionary phase in our lives. That's from age 7 to about age 14. And it's where we either learn to take full responsibility for our emotions, or we don't mature emotionally or into emotionally well-adjusted human beings. And a lot of that has to do with our upbringing, our parents, not to lay blame at the feet of our parents, because our parents did the best they could with what they knew, with the tools they had at the time that they were being raising you as a child. But we can look to that point in our lives for what it is that we then used to create false systems, false belief systems, false stories, in order to maintain ourselves or to give ourselves that sense of security, where we might have emotionally felt insecure because of what was happening in our lives at the time. We can create a system outside of us to make us feel more safe and secure. And remember that the gate 48 in the I Ching is called the well. That the well is a void, the void. And we as human beings are a little bit afraid of that void, right? It's dark. It is unknown. And if we dive into that void, we're afraid of what it might be that happens to us in that void, right? It's that void energy that gave rise to the fear of the feminine, right? The feminine whose archetypal form is about the dark, the unseen, the womb energy, right? Where the womb, what's being created in the womb, and it's not visible. It's almost like there's this secret world of things that are happening. And there was, during the witch trials, the Inquisition time of the Middle Ages, where there was paranoia on the part of the masculine energy about what was happening in that void or in that feminine. And it was that paranoia of those times were born out of the fear of the gene key, in the gene key 48. And even now in this day and age, we have some of that same fear, like the men in black or aliens or government conspiracies, the gods, all of these different things that we've, created out of the fear of that darkness. What lies in the darkness? What lies in the deep darkness of space? Aliens, of course. And not only are they aliens, but they're coming to our planet to eat us up, right? Or to kill us all. So those things, those fears have been controlling us, right? Controlling us all this time. And then we create, again, the systems to move that fear to the background, right? To hold it at bay. And it programs us then, we've become programmed to look at the material realm, the outer world, to quell the fear instead of looking within at the depth and see what that fear is all about. So now let's look at where we could be. Let's look at where we could be at resourcefulness, which is the gift level in the gene key or gate 48. This is going to take us into some other interesting territories, so you'll just have to bear with me. Please, if you have questions or you don't understand what I'm talking about, put them in here as questions, because I would lovely like to look at it. People are already putting out there, they want cards. Good. And yes, Allison, that's a great idea. Good morning, Gail. Lovely to see you out there too. So the emotional, or your astral body, is learned from our parents, right? So our job is to heal the patterns that were developed from that experience of our parents. There's no greater calling than for you as an individual than to be a very emotionally well-adjusted human being, and to apply that when you're raising your own children. It becomes of paramount importance what it is that you're passing on to your progeny, and know that you're doing the best you can, right? You are not solely responsible for your children's development, except to say that just to realize that they're picking up everything that's going on around you. They're open books. They're sponges. They're picking up everything. And if you have children that are in that age group, 7 to 14, and I don't know who of you out there have kids in that age group, but look at your own emotional self right now. And what is it that your children are picking up from you as far as the emotional energy? Are they being taught to trust in themselves and in their own resources? Or are they being taught or conditioned, this is a conditioning field, by the way, to look outside of themselves for comfort when emotional upheavals are happening? So the true essence of the gift of resourcefulness comes from within, trusting your inner self, right? Trusting life, trusting that the well or the void can divulge its secrets to you when you dive in, right? Fear is always there. It's always there because we're in a planet that's got that energy. That's the configuration. It's almost like the challenge, if you choose to accept it by coming here on Earth, is to work through fear, is to know it's always there. But we can enter the field of fear and we can lessen our mental anxiety around that by facing it, by digging into it and looking at it, rather than pushing it out here, right? Moving out into the external world to avoid looking at the internal. You stop being afraid of fear then, and you look it full on in the face. You look into the well. You can lower your bucket, as Richard Rudd says, into that well, and you can come back with the gifts hidden there. So imagine that, right? Being able to jump into that fear field and pull back the bucket full of treasure, right? Out of that well comes all of the solutions to all of your problems or issues or conflicts that have been challenging you. When we dig into the fear, when we look at it, when we see it, right? When we accept that it's a part of our reality here, right? Look in it, and you will be amazed at what emerges from that deep. This is the idea of resourcefulness, the state of being full of resources, and they come from within. As you learn to trust that you have that inner wealth, right? As you learn to trust that the answers are always going to emerge at the right time in the right place, and you become more trustful, right? Fear lessens. The fear, the anxiety, the stress, depression begin to fade away because you know it's just a field of energy that you're moving through. The gift of resourcefulness becomes self-fulfilling, a self-fulfilling prophecy almost, right? The trust leads to more trust, reinforcing that you have the security from within, and you're no longer then looking for it outside of you, or looking for security or escapes outside of you, right? So no matter what your fears are, no matter which one, whether it's 48, the fear of inadequacy, whether it's the fear of judgment or anything like that, you can face that fear because the resourcefulness reveals those fears to be false or to be an illusion, right? It reveals your feelings of inadequacy to be false, right? Any questions? Everybody good? Doing okay so far? Debbie, I drew a card for all of us today. Ooh, love. I'll share that in a minute, Debbie. Thank you. Colleen says, question. I see the planetary energy of the day around me, but I personally rarely feel it. FI. I don't know what that means. FI. If void of moon, I'm still hustling like always. Is it my Leo rising saying gotta move people, or I feel like I'm missing something here? I'm not sure how to answer that question, Colleen. My guess is that maybe you're so focused on what it is that's going on in your own life that maybe take some time and sit back and just feel your way into that energy, right, around you. What is going on around you? And not everybody is going to feel things in the same way, right? Some people are not filled with that intuitive energy. They're filled with the more logical energy. And there's nothing wrong with that energy being more factual based, or seeing, the results of something in your face, not feeling it. Some people are more emotional. Other people are more intuitive. It's all different for everybody. You may find that maybe that when the moon moves through a different sign, that you are suddenly more in tune with what's going on. So it's, when I come on in the morning and I share these things, these are the general energies of the day or of the week or of the month, whatever we're talking about. And for you, it may be different. It may be experienced differently because of the configurations in your own chart and how you're dealing with that energy. So when I'm talking about, let's say, Mars and Libra, there is an entire spectrum of ways that that energy could play out in your life, from the most positive to the most neutral to the most negative, right? And all points in between. So if the words that I'm saying aren't necessarily what you're experiencing, but you're experiencing something a little different, it may still be in the realm of that sign or that planetary energy. It's just playing out differently because of your configuration. So that's why it's very difficult when I see people reading the newspaper and going, whatever, their horoscope says, because that's so too objective, right? It's not really speaking to you personally as a Leo or as a whatever. So lots of opportunities there for you to see something different in your own chart. That's why it's also important to, maybe journal for a while and see what is it that does come up for you when the moon is in Sagittarius. What does come up for you when the moon is transiting over into the sign of Capricorn, or when the fear fields are enacted on your chart. By the way, if you're out there and you have gate 48 already defined on your spleen, this is kind of a non-start for you. You're already feeling this energy all the time in your life. It may be nothing new. It's not like, oh, yay, the fear of inadequacy is in my field. Where'd that come from? Because it's always been there. But for those of us who don't have that gate defined, this is a new injection of energy. It causes us to look deeper within. So maybe that helps answer your question, I hope. Marisa says, I have an 11-year-old working on my emotional IQ for me and for him. The best thing you can do in that really is to work on your own self. Make sure your emotional self is clear. Your son, Marissa, has his own travels that he's moving through, his own emotional field that he's dealing with. It's likely a different gene key or gate than yours is. And looking at his, though, could be oh so helpful for you to be able to lead or guide him into appropriate expression of his emotions. But you also have to work on your own, right? We all have to work on our own. The time even that you're born into conditions you to respond in specific ways. And as a child, you're not really knowing the difference, right? You actually, let me reframe that. As a child, I think you really do know the real you. And yet what you see is your own real views, feelings, and emotions, but your parents or your immediate family are giving you another idea about what that means, right? You may be someone who's extremely emotional and you just want to gush emotion, and your parents are over here telling you that it's not appropriate, right? That your emotions aren't appropriate, that you're acting like a child, right? If you're expressing your emotions, your anger, your upset, or throwing a tantrum. So you learn then to hide that energy, right? It's not appropriate to be mad. It doesn't mean you're not mad anymore, because that doesn't go away. It just gets deeper in within you or hidden. And then it can become passive aggression, right? Because now that anger has to find an outlet. So we learn from our parents and from schooling, from the institutions. You may have been raised in a religion. You may be, every one of us went to school just about, unless you were homeschooled. And even then, you're being conditioned by your parents' ideas of what education is. Maybe you were born into a military family, and so the military also enacts a culture on you, or puts you in a field. So we're all conditioned. We are all conditioned. And I would say that between the ages of 7 and 14, what's happening is you're being conditioned about what you do with the expression of emotions, right? Note, we're dealing with the spleen here with all these fears. These are the old energies of survival that were literally the first energies that were developed in the human template to help us survive. We are on the bridge between the emotional solar plexus over here, that is the new way for us to survive, if you will, and moving away from the fear field over here in the survival energy of the spleen. So we're building the bridge, right? We're building that bridge. And the way we build that bridge is to recognize where it is that this fear might be showing up. And it could be different for every one of you. It's certainly different for me than it is for my husband. And, we're in the same household. So looking within is what becomes so important. And how are you showing up with your emotion? How are you shutting down your children's emotions? Or how are you empowering their emotions? all of these things, how are your own fears affecting your children? And that's something we don't really look at in the moment. We don't really look at it in the moment. From my standpoint now, from my age now, and my kids are in their late 20s and early 30s, I'm looking at them going, God, I see so much my reactions, my own fears, and how they have affected them. And I'm not necessarily responsible for the choices they're making in their life, but my own unconsciousness and my own fears when they were growing up are also have affected them. But it's their choice now, right? So it's about honoring all of that upbringing, all of those experiences, but recognizing how to apply it now. And if you have children in that age group, what an awesome opportunity you have to teach them well about being able to be emotional, right? To use emotion appropriately, right? To not squelch the feeling, but not to vomit it out there on everybody either, right? So it's an important step in all of our evolution. So I hope that helps. Colleen says that makes sense. I'm very focused on what I need to do for the day. Indeed. Makes sense with the gates too, since I have a lot of defined ones. Absolutely. And Colleen says, I can see that. I wasn't allowed to cry, etc., which does have an effect to this day. So imagine that. Why weren't you allowed to cry? Right? Was it because your family believed that that was a sign of weakness? Or it wasn't acceptable to express that kind of emotion? So how much emotion have you been swallowing back all of your life, pushing to the background? But yet it still comes out, right? It still comes out. It's maybe undermining you. So we have to be able to restore full emotional responsibility. I guess that's the best way for me to put that, is that emotions in and of themselves are not wrong. It is not wrong to feel anger or upset or joy or excitement. It is not. It is what being responsible for that feeling rather than, projecting it out there onto other people, that is the problem. Marissa, it feels like I live at gate 48, but I'm catching the shadow sooner. I have my son's human design chart. Thank you. I will look at it to see how best to guide his emotions. Almost better than a human design chart for this particular kind of work, Marissa, is getting his hologenetic profile. I'm going to make myself a note today to list that hologenetic profile link again on my page so that you guys can find that, because you can enter in your son's birth information and you will get that. Oh, that's not the book. I've got so many notebooks here now. So when you get a hologenetic profile, it's going to look something like this, right? Something like this. And you're going to see these bubbles here that are red, right? They're moving up. This is called the sword of individuality in the gene keys. That's not the purpose of our discussion here. But these three gene keys here, this one, and this one, and this one, these three house the three main developmental periods in our children. And that is the physical from birth to 7, the emotional from 7 to 14, and then the mental from 14 to 21. So if you look at that in your son's chart, Marissa, that will help you get an idea of what he's working on, right? What is he working on in his emotional development? So to make it more personalized to him. And it's not something you could see it in your human design chart, but it's just not as obvious. So, all right. All right, guys. Any questions, anything else about this that you want to talk about? There's a piece here too about surrendering to this process, right? To being able to go through this process, surrendering that fear, being unreactive to all of it. Oh, wasn't that fun? I somehow pressed a button on my keyboard, which brought up a message, and I clicked OK, thinking it was OK. And what I did was I ended my broadcast. So, okay, maybe we were done talking about fear. So I apologize for disappearing. That wasn't my intention. But indeed, I surrendered to the process. No, too funny. I don't know. What the heck? Whatever. What I was trying to say next is that there's a component to our being able to move into this resourcefulness, right? The gift level of that gene key that is about surrender and arriving at the moment of fear in an unreactive state, right? Being vulnerable and unknowing and being open to whatever, surrendering to a higher power, right? Trusting that something will come up for you, that some solution will be there for you. Honestly acknowledging that you don't know the answer, right? That you don't know that answer from the level of the mind mentally, but trusting that whatever you need, you will be able to access in the exact moment that you need it. And the more you trust in your not knowing, the easier this gets, right? The more you're deconditioning yourself from the behaviors of the past, from the way that things have been, from the way that you were raised. And being able to move forward in a way that your gifts and your talents really emerge, right? The gifts come up and they're able to emerge through your resourcefulness, and a tide of emotionally creative energy is unleashed. And also, remember, the spleen is also engaged with time, and it's about time in the moment. And it's about being in the right place at the right time. Well, when you are in a state of surrender, when you're recognizing that you don't know, then hidden timing emerges, hidden rhythms are able to emerge, right? You're not anymore in a position of pushing your way into something, trying to make things happen. You are surrendering to the process and allowing them to happen, right? There's something else that happens here. What time is it? Okay, I'm going to have to stop here with this so I can do a couple of readings. But what happens here is that prosperity emerges out of that field. Prosperity emerges. So on Monday, we'll talk about the gift level here. I mean, not the gift. We've been in the gift of resourcefulness. We'll talk about wisdom, which is the highest expression in the gate 48. And what does that mean for us in terms of prosperity versus wealth, right? Because that's an important consideration to have as well. Okay. I see you all came back. It was very odd, Mimi. I agree. And it's I had this I have this book, right? And I put it down on my keyboard, which if I do that again, it's probably going to do the same thing. It did something. A message popped up. I didn't really read it. I just clicked OK. And what that OK did was end my broadcast. So yeah, hallelujah, right? Surprise. Okay. Let's do a couple of readings here. I don't have access to that page anymore. So I remember seeing Mimi and I remember seeing Debbie. Mimi wanted an animal card. Debbie, I'm not sure what you wanted. Usually Debbie likes Woto. And if anybody else had requested a reading, please just pop that in there. I can do, it's 9 o'clock already, so I can do a couple. Let's do Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel. Her card, Wisdom of the Oracle, from Colette Baron Reed, and see what we come up with here for you, Debbie. I don't know if you have a question. You might want to focus on it. Michelle Gay, awesome to see you out there this early. It's cortisol time. So that's why you're up, right? Cortisol time meaning, ooh, Debbie, a card leaped out, and it is Go the Distance upside down. Go the Distance. That's our cheetah, right? Our cheetah card with the checkered flag saying Go the Distance. Card 47, which is an 11. Interesting. And it was in protection. So let's take a look at what that means. 47 in protection. It says the essential meaning, of course, is endurance, strength, the long haul. In protection, it says, do you feel as if you've been wandering in the desert now for ages and ages and nothing is happening? When you conjure up the image of a desert, you picture parched lips, sunburned skin, and mirages. But there is more to it than that. Amid the hot sands are creatures with resilient spirits, tough skins, and the willingness to burrow deep underground for water so that they can thrive. This is a time of developing survival skills and resilience. You are learning how to conserve your strength. And in this temporary time of austerity, it's wise to be selective about where you expend your energy. Listen to the call of your soul. Stay in your jammies. Listen to the call of your soul because it will never lead you astray. This is an important time for letting go of what's not important. Debbie, I hope that has meaning for you. And Mimi, I'm going to draw you an animal card because I did see that you wanted an animal card. Again, using Colette Baron Reed's Spirit Animal Oracle. Ooh, and let's see what we get for you, Mimi. Okay. So many of you. I should just do a half an hour of card readings for everybody. Okay, Mimi, you get rabbit. Oh, and spider. This one didn't jump, but jumping spiders. So you have spider upright. She is card number 56, which is also an 11. Interesting. You and Debbie have a matching number there. It says, make your dreams real. And then rabbit was upside down. Rabbit spirit is card number 49, but isn't she a cutie, right? 49 is a 13 is a 4, and in protection. So rabbit actually was on top and spider came out underneath. So let's see what those two might mean for you. So let's read rabbit first, 49. Okay, so rabbit says, now is a lucky time. Gotta love that one. But in protection, it says, vulnerability is required of you now, even if you don't feel safe. Act as if you trust that you will be okay, and soon you will see that you are okay. To create is to take risks. So at this fortunate, fertile time, banish your fears and recognize the real security is in immersing yourself in the process of co-creation. It's okay to admit that you really don't know how to deal with whatever is in front of you. This is where curiosity and not knowing can be a wonderful state of mind. Be playful now, admitting you are at the beginning of something. Come out to frolic in the sun's nurturing light because it's time to birth something new. And then right behind that was spider. And spider is also like the creatrix, right? Make your dreams real. Look at that. That's a pretty card, actually, when you look at all the detail in that. So she is card 56. So let's move ahead here to 56. And she was upright. Spider spirit says, weaving your dreams into the fabric of life begins with a single thread of intention, and then spirit joins you as your co-weaving partner. Take but a single step to make your dream a reality, and spirit will take 10 toward you, for the universe is designed to support your dream weaving. Spirit or spider spirit arrives when you need some reminding of the awesome power of co-creation within you. Or within spirit, excuse me. Ideas and resources will begin to appear as if by magic as you begin to bring your dreams from the realm of intention into the world of senses where they take form. The action you need to take is to be clear about your intentions and then act as if you have become the one that lives the life you desire. The web of creation has an uncanny way of coming together to weave the beautiful pattern you set in motion. Another message of spider spirit is about any creative project you may be considering: writing, painting, music, journaling, gardening, etc. Now is the time when inspiration wants to be channeled through you as something creative, even artistic and tangible. Creative projects are successful now if you are so inclined. Let yourself be open to abundance. I love those together. They make great sense. I hope that inspires you to create, Mimi. Okay, after Mimi, let's see here. I have Ann Stevens, who wanted Woto. Woto, the wisdom of the oracle. Ann, let's draw a card for you. And see, Angela, I'll do yours next, and then Allison. And it's the A names, the triple A's, Anne, Angela, and Allison. And Anne, this is for you, and it's jumping around. It is observer. Be the observer. Look at this number 49, which is a 13, which is a 4. Number of being in boundaries and limits, the observer card. So let's see what that might mean here. Hiding the book from myself. 49. Okay, the essential meaning is perspective, objectivity, neutral observation from a distance. And the oracle's message says, most people see the world through a personal lens. They closely identify with their feelings and experiences, so much so that they come to believe that these are the only reality. There are times when you need distance in order to gain perspective and understand your circumstances from a more neutral vantage point. Now is one of those times in your life. This is a perfect moment for you to begin to do some exploring. Instead of only considering yourself, consider what you need to understand about the conditions, people, culture, and environment you're engaged with right now. You'll be so happy you did. Illumination is the miracle you seek and will indeed find. That's a perfect card. All right, that was for you, Anne. Angela would also like a Woto. So let's pull Woto for you then, Miss Angela. And Wisdom of the Oracle gives you never-ending story. Card number 37, which is a 10, which is a 1. Oh, and a supporting card is a leg up, but in reverse. So you have never-ending story, card 37, as a 10 is a 1, new beginnings kind of. And then a leg up, which was upside down, card 34. The polar bears. Look at the polar bears. Right? Okay, so let's see what that means for you then, Angela. Never-ending story is card 37. Right side up. Remind myself that one was that way. The essential meaning is self-criticism, the wounded ego, and unnecessary dramas. The oracle's message says, there is a story woven through the imperfect fabric of life that tells of hurt and loss, rejection and humiliation, self-loathing and arrogance, and all manner of suffering born of unnecessary dramas. It is the old story whose refrain is that you cannot do this, must not go there, should not say that, lest your world come crumbling down. Today, know that none of this is actually true. The sky is not falling. The voice you hear is just a small, scared, conditioned part of you that got stuck in a lie, wants to protect you, and needs to be seen as a victim. Love that lost piece of you. Fear is all it knows. Distorted guidance is preventing you from being true to yourself. You are not your story, and the narrator is simply the voice of your fearful part, small and vulnerable and easily soothed. Okay. And then leg up is card 34, and it was in reverse or upside down or protection. And the meaning of that card is receiving help, delegating authority, and interdependence. And in protection, it says, are you always insisting on doing everything yourself? Do you have little faith that help will come, convinced that the burden of the world is doomed to remain on your shoulders? Your beliefs about going it alone need to be discarded as they do not serve you at all. Let others help you. Yes, it will make you feel vulnerable to admit you need a helping hand, but to be vulnerable is good, for you have a lesson to learn. You must let someone else assist. You can't do life all by yourself. Once you shift your expectations, you'll be amazed by how quickly help arrives to give you a leg up. Those are pretty cool. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Okay, that was for Angela. Allison, thought it was just me with the problem. Oh, no. No. Woto for Allison. And then we'll do Marissa. And that's probably all I have time for because I do have readings to get to today. Okay, so this one is for you, Allison. They want to be really mixed up, which is good. Clearing the field here. You get message in a bottle, also in reverse. Any other cards attached? Nope, just that one. So message in a bottle, card number 15, which is a 6. Here's what the card looks like. kind of the pelican sitting in the top of a bottle, message in a bottle. Well, let's see what that means. Remember, it was upside down in protection. So card 15. That's 14. The meaning of the card is communication, a sign, a kleidon, the ancient name for a spontaneous oracle delivered innocently by the speaker, pointing the way to your highest good. All right. I love it. Protection says, are you refusing to acknowledge the signs because you want things as you want them? Red flags are not pretty decorations for you to admire. They are warning you for a reason. If something doesn't sit right with you, trouble could be hiding in the bushes. Don't ignore the signs. Spirit always has your best interest at heart and will draw your attention to what you are overlooking. Wow, that's cool. Be looking for signs, right? Kleidons or omens or quinkydink, synchronicities, all of those fun things. All right. Allison, I hope that has meaning for you. Marissa would like a card. Your choice. Okay. I am going to go with Woto. Seems to be working for us well today. Except Mimi, I think your animal cards were spectacular, especially knowing, for what you do out there in the world. Okay, this is for Marissa. And, well, forget that one. Not quite done yet. Marissa, you have two cards. One called the Tribe, card number 8. Right side up, card number 8, Power, Abundance, the Tribe. And then the second one is TikTok, 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 upside down, card number 30, which is a 3. So something about time. So let's take a look at what those mean for you. The Tribe, number 8. All right, the essential meaning for this card for you, Marissa, is community, belonging, being seen and understood by others, like-minded connections, a sense of family and friendship, knowing your place in the world. And the Oracle's message says this card signals a new affiliation with the group. Humans are social creatures, and we need to know we are useful to our tribes, families, and communities. In a tribe, everyone has an important function and feels, I matter. Membership in the group provides a sense of belonging, of kinship, and of purpose that comes from working together for the greater fulfillment of all. Perhaps you are part of a spiritual community or an artistic one. Perhaps you are in a learning community where you share your love of education. Regardless of its form or focus, your community brings you joy. You will be inspired by it and want to contribute to it. Your contribution may be as small as showing up or as large as becoming its leader. No matter your position in the tribe, your presence is needed. Awesome. All right, now the other one was 30. TikTok. TikTok, of course, has timelessness, divine timing, and immeasurable time. And in reverse, it says, or in protection, it says, have you been feeling as if the clock is ticking and gotten a little nervous about your dreams, about how long your dreams are taking to manifest? There is nothing to fear. You will never run out of time for the important things. The miracles that are yours and yours alone can't be missed. Isn't that amazing? You're in such capable hands with guides and angels hovering in the invisible spaces, ensuring that your journey will be filled with all sorts of goodies. Let your anxiety be gently dispelled by your faith. Spirit will never deny you your highest good. All is yours in divine, appropriate timing. You can relax. Pretty cool. I like that. All righty. Well, something else just occurred to me, and Debbie had shared a card with us earlier, and I don't know if that was in this part of the broadcast or if that was before I inadvertently ended the broadcast before, and I think it might have been. So Debbie, if you're still out there, Debbie Tippett-Stumiel, if you could repost that card for us or send me a picture of the card and just the little description of it, then I can post it here for everybody. I apologize. I didn't get to read that before I ended up leaving. So Marissa says, message received. Thank you, universe. Allison, thank you. Wow, interesting second card, especially for Angela. Love it, love it. Mimi says her cards make perfect sense. Both of them, trust, surrender, and birth. That will intent, with intent to in focus. Lovely, lovely. All right, everybody. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the days of rest. Make time for rest. Listen to your body. We'll see you on Monday morning. Have a great day.